Monster Hunter Wilds might just be the biggest leap forward the series has ever had. And honestly, I truly believe it could be one of the best games launching this year. But if you've never played a Monster Hunter game before, you might be wondering, what exactly is it? How does the gameplay work? And most importantly, what can you expect as a newcomer? The best way to find out is by playing the beta test, which is available at the time of this recording. But if you missed it, or still have questions even after playing it, then this video is for you. Let's break down everything we know about Monster Hunter Wilds so far. If you've never played a Monster Hunter game before, the core gameplay loop is pretty simple. You prepare for a hunt, track and fight a monster, gather materials from it, craft better gear, and then take on even stronger monsters. Rinse and repeat. If I am to compare, it's like raiding in an MMO, except instead of clearing dungeons, you're constantly fighting colossal, challenging bosses. It's a very skill-based game that rewards planning, patience, and mastering your weapon of choice. Each weapon has a bit of a learning curve, but once you get the hang of it, it's super rewarding. It's heavily action-oriented, but the combat isn't fast-paced like Devil May Cry either. The movesets feel more grounded in reality, making actions like blocking, counterattacking, and well-timed strikes feel much more satisfying to pull off. If you've played a Souls game before, it feels somewhat similar, though I'm pretty sure Monster Hunter was doing it way before Souls-like was even a thing. Let's be honest, the Monster Hunter franchise has never really been known for its story. But if you've played the beta test, you might have noticed something different. Monster Hunter Wilds has a lot more cutscenes compared to previous titles. And for the first time in a mainline MH game, these cutscenes are fully voiced.
I hope we find them soon.
In an interview, director Yuya Takuda mentioned that they're putting more effort into the story for Wilds, and even said that giving it greater focus just made sense for this title. This suggests we can expect more narrative depth than past games, though gameplay is still the main focus. Personally, a stronger story would be a great bonus. But even if it turns out to be mid, I'm fine with that, as long as the gameplay is as fun as ever. Wilds is the biggest shift toward an open-world design we've seen in the series. Monster Hunter World took a big step in that direction by removing loading screens between areas, but each map was still its own enclosed space. In Wilds, the environments are even more expansive and fully interconnected, allowing for seamless exploration. But it's not just about bigger maps. Capcom is introducing dynamic ecosystems that change based on weather, time of day, and even monster behavior. Some monsters might only show up under specific conditions, while others could become more aggressive during storms or migrate across regions. This means hunting won't just be about tracking your target, it's about adapting to the world around you. A few months ago, Monster Hunter Wilds showcased underwater exploration, but that doesn't necessarily mean underwater combat from Monster Hunter 3 is making a comeback. In fact, former series producer Shintaro Kojima explained that implementing underwater combat is as complex as developing an entirely separate game. So while you can explore underwater areas in Wilds, combat will likely remain strictly land-based in this installment. But who knows? Until the game fully launches, there's always a chance that Capcom has a surprise waiting for us. The short answer is no. Monster Hunter Wilds doesn't seem to be introducing a brand new weapon type. Players can wield the 14 classic weapon types from previous entries, but while there aren't any entirely new weapon classes, the existing arsenal has been refined with new moves and mechanics to enhance combat. One of the biggest additions is the Sacred, a mount that lets hunters carry a secondary weapon, allowing for mid-hunt weapon switching, a first for the series. If you played Iceborne, you might remember Raider Rides, which were basically autopilot fast travel. And in Rise, Palamutes gave you full movement control but didn't affect combat. The Sacred takes this further. Not only can you freely control movement, but it also plays a role in combat. Another major addition is Focus Mode, which helps hunters target wounds more effectively. There's probably a lot more to this mechanic that we haven't discovered yet, and we'll get a better idea of its full potential once the game launches. Monster Hunter Wilds will support cross-platform play across PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X or S, and PC at launch. This is a first for the series, as previous Monster Hunter games had platform restrictions limiting who you could play with. Now, you can hunt with your friends no matter what platform they're on. But if you'd rather stick to your own platform, Capcom gives you the option to turn crossplay on or off in the settings. So if you only want to match with players on the same platform as you, that's totally possible. Wilds is also improving the multiplayer experience with private lobbies, so you can hunt exclusively with friends, and a new feature called Link Parties, which makes it easier to stay connected with your team across multiple hunts. However, cross-save functionality, which lets you transfer progress between platforms, is not supported. Unfortunately, your save data will be tied to the platform you start on, and you won't be able to carry over your progress if you switch to a different system. As of now, Monster Hunter Wilds is set to launch on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X or S, and PC on February 28, 2025. Capcom hasn't announced any plans for a Nintendo Switch version, and based on their statements, there's currently no development being done to bring the game to the platform. Since Wilds is designed to push modern hardware, if it ever comes to a Nintendo system, it would likely be on a more powerful future console, like a potential Switch 2. Capcom's Ryozo Tsujimoto even mentioned that they would need to study the hardware first before considering a port. So, while a future Nintendo release isn't impossible, it's highly unlikely. And even if it happens, it could be years away. You can play the game solo without an internet connection, just like previous Monster Hunter games. However, certain features, such as online multiplayer, will require an internet connection. Additionally, some online exclusive content may only be accessible when connected to the internet. On PS5, the game is listed as single player with optional online play. This means you'll need a PS Plus subscription for online multiplayer, but if you're playing solo, you can enjoy the full game without a subscription. It's also worth noting that during the open beta, Capcom allowed players to experience online multiplayer without requiring a PS Plus subscription. However, this was a special exception for the beta and does not apply to the full game. If you're wondering whether Monster Hunter Wilds has pay-to-win mechanics, the answer is most likely not. The series has a solid track record of keeping DLC cosmetic only. Things like layered armor, hairstyles, gestures, and decorations. Capcom is also offering 3 editions of the game: Standard, Deluxe, and Premium Deluxe. These editions cater to players who want extra customization options without affecting core gameplay mechanics. So, no matter which version you get, all players have access to the same gameplay content regardless of purchases. It's also worth noting that you'll get 1 free character edit at launch. After that, any further changes will require purchasing character edit vouchers. I'm not saying that adding microtransactions to a full-priced game is great, especially when you've already paid for it, but compared to some other games that I won't name here, this type of monetization isn't nearly as bad. Lastly, Capcom has a history of releasing major paid expansions for Monster Hunter. For example, Monster Hunter World received Iceborne, which added a new region, new monsters, and a Master Rank campaign. Wilds hasn't confirmed anything yet, but it wouldn't be surprising if Capcom follows the same model and releases a large-scale paid expansion post-launch. That being said, if it's a significant expansion, I think it's fair to lock it behind a paywall. At minimum, you'll need a GTX 1660 or RX 5500 XT along with a Core i5 10400 or Ryzen 5 3600, 16 GB of RAM, and 75 GB of SSD storage. This setup should run the game at 1080p 30 FPS on the lowest settings. However, Capcom recommends a RTX 2060 Super or RX 6600 paired with the same 16 GB RAM and SSD storage. This setup should get you 1080p at 60 FPS on medium settings, with frame generation enabled. If you're aiming for 1440p on high settings, you'll likely need a RTX 4060 Ti or RX 7700 XT. And for 4K Ultra settings, you're looking at a RTX 4070 Ti or RX 7800 XT. Capcom has also released a PC benchmark tool so you can test your system before launch. You can download it from their official website or via the game's Steam page. That's right, Monster Hunter is now a dating sim, at least that's what their Steam page says. Of course, that's not actually true. Monster Hunter Wilds, or any Monster Hunter game for that matter, has never been a dating sim. If you're not aware, Steam tags are user-generated, meaning anyone can suggest categories for a game. And Wilds ended up with the dating sim tag all because of Gemma. In the 2024 trailer, Capcom introduced Gemma the Smithy, a new character who instantly became a fan favorite. Within a week, Monster Hunter Wilds was tagged as a dating sim on Steam, as fans flooded social media, playfully simping for Gemma. But it does make you wonder, what would a Monster Hunter dating sim even look like? I mean, Lala Barina kinda sounds like a sexy name, but it's definitely not someone you'd want to take on a date. And that's everything we know about Monster Hunter Wilds so far. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.